Welcome to the DECI podcast. I am Katrina Williams, the Assistant Manager of Program Services. And we have,
Yeah, Zack Hawkins, State Representative, House District 31. DCI sits right in House District 31, so I'm glad to be here.
so to start off, I'm going to ask you to tell the people a little bit about yourself, your passions, your hobbies, and
All right.
um, where you come
Where
from.
I come from.
Hmm?
So first, glad to be here. I have served in the North Carolina House for 4 terms. I cannot believe that time. I was elected in 2019.
Wow.
My predecessor was Representative Mickey Mishaw, who served for 40 years total in the General Assembly. And when he was getting ready to retire, um, I was starting to sort of ramp up and had been involved. And it was the perfect opportunity because we had known each other. He endorsed my campaign. It was a real continuation of the work, and I had put in my own work. I got started getting involved in like 2000. So I had done work in undergrad. When I moved to Durham 25 years ago, which was really the spark of my sort of political journey. My son had his arm broken in daycare, and I was new to Durham. I didn't know a soul. We thought it was going to be an open and shut case, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody would take the case. They didn't know us,
Wow.
and of course the daycare was a chain, so it lowered it up,
Mm.
and I felt helpless and hopeless, and
Right.
I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to, and I just said, you know what, I'm never gonna feel this way again. And so I started showing up. I started showing up in my party, and I started working for Congressman David Price. Started working on other campaigns, and I was in graduate school, so I knew at some point I was going to be okay. But what I realized was that there are people walking, and in Durham who felt helpless and hopeless every single day and didn't know who to turn to.
Right.
And so it was one of those light bulb moments that while my son's being jumping into action to help and support him,
Mm-hmm.
I sort of found my calling
Right.
that I could be a person that people could depend on, could be their
Mm-hmm.
voice, could be a trusted voice,
Mm-hmm.
and then fast forward, I um, went to the classroom. I went to the classroom, and that was the second sort of place where I realized y'all are failing these kids. Y'all are failing them. And I had all these politicians. I was like president of a young Democrats organization, and Young Democrats of North Carolina, and but I was also a public school teacher. And I was like, well, guys, you're not doing all you say you're doing. You're failing them. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had students that were coming from pretty tough spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and they were super smart, but because we didn't have the resources to really support them in and out of school,
Right.
they were falling by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of one of those things like, yep, all right, I think this feeling is like I need to find a way to, you know, really sort of manifest this. And I worked for the Obama campaign, the Obama outfit after he won that helped to pass the ACA,
Mm-hmm.
which again sort of really threw me into the world of understanding healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said the best place for me to go after that is into philanthropy because this is a place where I can raise money around issues that can go back to help people so that when that next kid goes into the classroom, that teacher gets the full capacity of that student, right? The
Mm-hmm.
ones that I wanted, the ones that I wish I could have been better supportive of.
Right.
And then also when I was in the classroom, I forgot to say this, it was my first real interaction with, you know, really deeply supporting those with like IEPs, 504 plans,
Right.
those with developmental disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And you, again, you just realized how much they were not being supported. So in philanthropy, I was able to support all of that. And then after the '08 election, like I said, I did the that piece with Obama, and then I uh, can continue to get more active statewide, and that's when my predecessor was starting to wind down.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to ramp up, and the fight needed to continue. And so I have been on that train ever since. And the things that I really, really care about, the hill that I will die on is IDD,
Right.
developmental disabilities. I have 2 boys with autism,
Mm-hmm.
and that was sort of that third spark because when I was filing for office, filing for office, I think that's when we started to realize that our middle son had some challenges. And it was like, okay. And then when I actually was sworn in, we found out that's when our second one got diagnosed. And so I had no idea that I was going to walk into the General Assembly with this as being one of the major causes of my life. Right?
Right.
Because we're going,
heavyweight.
It's heavyweight.
Yeah.
Like, we're going through it. Like, they're screaming and we don't know what this means. And we're trying to learn all these new terms. And then we decided at some point to go public because it was just that important that we could not, A, suffer in silence anymore.
Right.
But B, other people needed to know. And so that HBCUs, I'm a double HBCU grad. So I really am supportive of HBCUs. I co-founded the HBCU Caucus. And we got the Elevate program money to support students with disabilities. There's like a cohort-based program in NC State and NCCU, so that we could support those with developmental disabilities getting a full experience at the institutions. I would say thirdly, it's around workforce jobs. I live in RTP. You live in y'all are here in RTP. If all these companies are sitting right here, and you have 33,000 kids in the schools, you have Duke, you have NCCU, you have Durham Tech. There's no reason why in a place like here, all those things are not they're not communicating. They should all be communicating properly.
Right.
We should have clear pipelines so that if you want to grow up in Durham, stay in Durham, you should be able to raise a family in Durham that pays a living wage so you can support yourself and your family.
Right.
And I'm not budging on that because we're too resource rich to not be disciplined enough in our community to provide those kinds of things. Exactly. And then I would say that I'm now merging into the AI space, and that has become a thing, and sort of start to lead on that. Hobbies, man, I try to make working out a hobby, but I just can't. I mean, it is just so hard to because it just you get off your rhythm and all that. Right. And then I am a hunter. I'm an outdoorsman, and so duck hunting is something that is just it's nothing like God's nature. Being out and being outside. Right. I forgot to include this in the beginning, but I grew up in eastern North Carolina. And so in a very small town, Chocowinity, North Carolina.
I know where that is.
Do you?
Yes.
In Beaufort County, which is the oldest county in the state, by Bath, which is the oldest town in the state.
Yes.
And so, we're not too far from the coast. I mean, minutes, it feels like, an hour from the beach. There's tons of water by us. And it's just lots of nature. And so I moved here, but I still enjoy that part. That still comes out of me through that. But yeah, just excited to be able to serve because it feels like I would do these kinds of things for free. And it's almost doing it because we only make $13,000 a year. We get enough to put gas in our tanks. But I just do it because it's like people need, when you see that people don't trust government, don't believe people are for them, like you have to be that exemplar to say, no, seriously, I'm in it for the right reasons. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, green, or purple. Like I will serve you. And it's important to me that good governance and democracy are respected again.
Has to be. Yeah. Yes, it has to be. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about you, since you've been in the General Assembly, have you introduced a bill that relates to services that we provide here at DECI for and about individuals with special needs? And if so, what was the nature of it?
Yeah, like I said, it was sort of a charge after my freshman year because once people find out something about you, like, oh, you should be a champion for this.
Right.
And so that's where the IDD Caucus, because it had been loosely formatted before, but we formalized it, and it's bipartisan and bicameral.
Okay.
And so that was sort of the first thing, is to make sure that from all the stories, when I started sharing my story, I found out that, okay, this Republican has a connection in the Senate, or this Democrat, and so we're like, look, we can work together. This doesn't have to be a partisan issue, right? And so with that, we started working on innovations waivers,
Mm-hmm.
which help anybody who are is on the autism spectrum or any developmental disability, because it provides access to to resources for them to enjoy programming outside of their community, to potentially have aids to
Mm-hmm.
support them, and allow them to have the fullest life that they should have.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, the passage of Medicaid
Mm-hmm.
made sure that people have access again to those services and many more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say third is around like integrated employment, supportive employment,
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity that pushes back on the notion that people can't do any job they want.
Right.
And so we have filed bills to make sure that that those kinds of things are open to everybody, and that we're one bill was making sure that North Carolina itself was a better integrated employer opportunity, that we were a model employee. That was the name of the bill. And so and then not to mention working on pieces that allow for more training through the community colleges. And so there have been some pilots that we supported that are in effect down in like some eastern North Carolina counties. Funny enough, we um, in the budget and out of the house, and some of the work I supported, community colleges had access to like IDD workforce
Mm-hmm.
resources, and Durham Tech didn't even get the grant. I'm like, oh no, how am I gonna be? This is one of the things that I put forward, and my own county doesn't get it
In your back pocket.
in my backyard. And so yes, we have.
Okay.
And because and it's not even for fully selfish reasons,
Right.
because I having done this work and had the opportunity to meet
Mm-hmm.
so many people in the community, parents at the end of the day, especially when they get older,
Right.
they're worried about, I can't take care of my aging child the way I used to be able to.
Right.
I'm worried that they're not going to have a place of their own, or employment that they love, and all those things, or a place where they feel like they're making meaning
Mm-hmm.
when I'm gone. I feel that now, right? I can see the future,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make sure that I'm helping those systems come into place, so that when my sons get to that point, all
Right.
these things have been worked out. But I also want it for every other child and every other family
Mm-hmm.
that's doing the same thing. And I think the opportunity for people to, I don't know how this sounds, but people to pay taxes, like, and to feel like you are doing your part,
Mm-hmm.
that's meaningful. When you can look at a road and say, you know what, I don't care who you are, on the spectrum or not. Hey, they can point at me and say, hey, I'll pay your salary, right? And they should be
Right.
able to.
Right.
And so that ability to feel like you're deeply involved in your community, that you're going out to the parks, that you're, going to programs, going to shows, and you have money in your pocket
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that under your own agency,
Yes.
that means something to me.
Very much.
And I don't want that because of a diagnosis or difference, or any other disability, to be a hindrance to someone having the opportunity to live up to their God-given potential.
Exactly. Good. Good answer. And that's what we're striving here at DECI, to allow our clients to live a meaningful life, as meaningful as they would like to live here at DECI. So our next question is, what does inclusion or an access and a choice mean to you in regards to individuals seeking assistance and services in the community?
Yeah. Well, inclusion means that you should make the proper accommodations so that everybody fits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I receive may be different than what you receive
Right.
to get to the same aim,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that means, hey, I might need a few accommodations up front, and then I can go off.
Mm-hmm.
You may be able to walk straight in the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but guess what? We should also have the same opportunity at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it means for me. And so that's what is important about, which I love when I did the tour here, is that some people come here, get the skills, and then they're ready to go off to another major employer in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But that employer has to be ready to have those accommodations,
Mm-hmm.
be inclusive, so that their practices are in place, so that person can then get to that part of the job, the meaningful part of the job, as quickly as possible. Um, and I think the access is meaning people should have the opportunity to find out about opportunities. Meaning, if they know the skill set that are being produced here, then just like if they would at a community college or a university, then they should be advertising so that those people have full access to the information. And they can make an informed choice about whether they're prepared,
Right.
but at minimum, and I used to, you hear this all the time, knowledge is power. It really is.
Yes.
It is, because guess what? I don't know what I don't know.
That's right.
And I think that is it's exponential when you start talking about our IDD community.
Yes.
Because if no one ever sends anything my way, or where I am, or the career folks don't share with me, then hey, I don't know that program exists at NCCU. I don't know that program exists at the community college level. I don't know that DECI exists.
Right.
If nobody, does that make sense?
Talked
about it. And so I think that's part of why the crusade for me is so important, because every time I share my story, every time we convene people, every time we educate an employer and or a legislator, then somebody does not have that excuse anymore that you didn't know. And now you can go evangelize, you can go be deputized to do the to share the good word.
Right.
And I think we just have to make sure, because I think that we will be cutting North Carolina short if we don't do right and with full inclusion and access for those with disabilities, because people still think it's 25 years ago. It's not. These people are capable. They're ready. And what is it? 80% are underemployed or unemployed.
When they're fully capable.
Fully capable.
So they just have to have the opportunity to do so. That's
exactly right. Absolutely. And so I like removing barriers, but I like removing excuses too.
Definitely the excuses.
Yeah.
Definitely the excuses.
Yeah. And the bias.
And that's a big one. The biases. Yes. So how can DECI and or families that we serve best advocate for services and have their voices heard in the community?
Yeah. So as a part of the IDD Caucus, I don't know where, I think I was like looking at what was going on around other countries, other states, and they had this listening day. I was like, what is this listening day? And so essentially it's a lobby day where for us, we put together a couple of hours essentially of testimony directly from IDD self-advocates, their families, organizations that serve the population, and they talk about the impacts of services that have gone well, the lack of service, what cuts mean to them, how they feel it, what it means for their service providers to not be able to provide or their service providers being paid well or not, right? Because for example, if your person can go to Walmart and get a better job, then they're not going to be a service provider anymore. Right. And so that was so enlightening for so many legislators, because after that sort of listening day, where they talk to legislators and tell them their stories and advocate for policy, they then go and knock on doors and talk to legislators and and do smaller convenings. And that's something that folks who work here and who support DECI, because employers can be a part of the conversation too. People who work here can be a part of the conversation. Employees can be a part of the conversation too. And being able to go look at your legislator in the face to say, this is the impact, positive or negative or neutral, of your policies on my life. You can't get any more real than that. Because I would dare say, people who are not able-bodied, whatever, people who are outside of that realm feel the impacts of policies the worst. Everything hurts. Everything hurts when you're not, quote unquote, able-bodied or with what they consider normal. And you see what I'm saying? And so their stories to me are so much more elevated and so much more real, and they're also the people that legislators hear from the least
and more impactful.
Absolutely. You cannot deny their experience,
right?
Like you could try to deny based on other factors. Exactly. And it cuts across race, it cuts across gender, it cuts across class.
Right.
I have people who are not doing so well in a small area and double doctors, double doctor households who are feeling the same pain.
Right.
And that, I think, allows us to unify across all those sectors. But most importantly, I think it empowers people to come out of the shadows and tell who they are, tell their truth, and speak truth to power. And it gives so much, the confidence that it gives them to know that they are in the halls of power when they didn't think they were ever supposed to be.
Warms your heart.
Warms my heart.
Yeah. Have you seen any effects of the government shutdown affecting the services?
Yeah.
Of this population.
Yep. SNAP and WIC, Medicaid. For us, the federal government did not give as much as it should have, and this is pre-shutdown. HHS and the legislature weren't on the same page about how much Medicaid money should be given by the General Assembly to do the match, so that agencies and operations were not cut. So, for example, we're a managed care state,
right?
And I think the cuts were 3 to 10% for some of these, managed care organizations, and they're helping folks with IDD. Their margins aren't huge, so when you start 3 to 10%, that could cut part of their staff. That could cut the level of service that they're giving to a needy family, and so some of that battle was happening. We got exacerbated by that, because not only are you having to think about the impacts of those cuts, because we don't have a state budget yet in Raleigh, so those things aren't coming, and the federal government's not going to give you any more because it's not operational right now.
Right.
You then have to compound that with any other services that the federal government would give them through their school, if they're in school, and then SNAP and WIC, right? And so and probably ones that I'm forgetting, but it all is a perfect storm for disaster for the community, and so that's why we do it that way, with bringing people to Raleigh and having these advocacy days and having the caucus, so that A, they know they have some friendlies, but B, that should be your baseline. You say, okay, something's going wrong, let me go advocate. Right. And so we have definitely seen it, and I hope that they figure things out in DC. Thank God I'm not in DC, but most importantly, I hope that North Carolina gets a budget so that we can make sure that innovations waivers come through, because folks need those.
Right.
So that we can figure out this Medicaid rebase situation, so people can get the services they need at the level of service that they need. And that I would say even sort of a step down from that, in K through 12, we need to step up the EC services that we're getting, and which allows for better inclusion for jobs and opportunities and service to the students who eventually will be in this population, because most students, of course, are in public schools.
Right.
So that's it is sparing nobody unless you're really, really rich.
I don't know what that means.
No, I mean, I know. I mean, it's just, I mean, I know, but I mean, it's just, that's because if you're, and that's why I go to the double doctor household.
Right.
I mean, these people, 2 doctors with very decent salaries.
Right.
Had their, kids suspended multiple times. they were having to pay out of pocket, which, eats into the salary and the amount of care that their kid needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were feeling the pain.
Right.
And most people look at salary wise, doctors being the exemplars.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means you can't even be, you can't just be doing well or above average. If you want to feel no pain, it's
you
that.
gotta be above that.
You have to be above that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the percentages of that get super small of who has, that's right, who have that ability. And so, if a $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 household is feeling the pinch,
just
imagine what everybody else under that is feeling.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give people that context because they're thinking like, and then there's the folks that we know like our Developmental Disability Council that they're having to private pay for, the only way they're able to then afford it is because they gave that person room and board. They gave the caretaker, the IA, the assistant room and board
in their home.
Mm-hmm. And then they pay her essentially as a full-time employee to pay for their son who's mid-30s, but essentially, immobile.
Mm-hmm.
And cuts into the budget. Don't care how much you make. And so, you see what I'm saying? And so that's why we need to make sure that from a government perspective, we're doing our part,
mm-hmm.
because vulnerable populations feel like the worst.
It is. Definitely is. Well, do you have any last words for us here at DECI?
Just keep doing what you're doing. Okay. I think that, I was aware before, but the visit was amazing.
Okay.
Make sure that I think the public schools, the community colleges, mm-hmm. The universities, people who care about this issue, mm-hmm. they need to come and see this place for sure. And you just have to, sometimes you can be great, but if the awareness is not high enough, you won't maximize a jewel. Does that make sense? And so it doesn't shine as brightly if you don't allow people to see it. Mm-hmm. And so I think keep doing those tours. I love this podcast. I love the podcast idea. I think it's great, right. Because the thing is that not only do you get a chance to understand people's motivations, right. about why they care, you open the door for people saying, "Hey, Zach, I saw you on some podcast. What's that DECI place?" You know, and then they start looking into it, mm-hmm. and it becomes a thing, and people find out about a good resource they had no idea about, and all that takes is for that person to go home and say, "Hey, I think I found something that can finally help you."
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
It does. It goes back to, if you don't talk about it, you don't know about it.
You don't know about it.
That's
right. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah. So I would say that's it, and then just encourage people to advocate. So anybody watching this, mm-hmm. or people who work here, employed here, mm-hmm. And people who run this place, like do not stop advocating. And I would talk to our city and county folks. I wouldn't let them off the hook either. Mm-hmm. But then most importantly, make sure that we're showing up in Raleigh and staying in contact.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much
for
being here.
What episode am I?
I'm not sure. Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Yes,
okay,
the trilogy.
Okay,
look at it.
Okay.
So episode 3.
On the ground floor.
We're on the ground floor. We're on the breakthrough. So we thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have you back again. Oh, thank you.
That means I didn't do porn.